What's going on, guys? Right by my teacher in the house, and I'm here with the GPL Week 12, the final regular season Pickems, with, of course, my good friend and tryhard, Trancel. How you doing, buddy?
Never gonna let this down.
No.
Are we?
No, you're not living it down, you tryhard. No. Right,
think
but
we
this
get
is
over
enough talking about Week 10. We're past that now, really. I'm just memeing because it's Trancel. Right, but either way, if you haven't seen these Pick'em with videos before, firstly, where have you been? Secondly, as you can see on either side of the screen here, we have got our teams on either side of a match for a schedule, and Trancel and I are going to break down these teams and talk about who we think's going to win. And probably get memed on because we are completely wrong in the Discord. Feel free, DJ. Right? But yeah. Of course, we are going to be using our opinions. Feel free to disagree with us. Feel free to say anything that you've missed or we've missed in the comments, because we will potentially miss something. You know, we're only two people here. We're not complete perfect knowledge, god tier experts, but we do try our best. But either way, let's talk about game number one. It's going to be Double Bust, aka Crimpix, versus Shadow in the shadow of the matchup. Where do we see this one going?
Shadow actually will end up needing this win, as he's memed to losing everything in the past like 5 weeks. As he's at 5-6. But yeah. This was another battle that we didn't get to see, but Crimpex actually gave Shadow some trouble from what I heard last time they played.
I think that this was the first match that Crimpix used Trick Room. He caught everybody completely off guard, if I remember correct. But yeah, like, the interesting thing to note here is there is Typhlosion on Shadow's team, which wasn't there in the time that they played. So that's something to bear in mind. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. Obviously, we didn't see the first time round that these guys played, so I am interested. Crimpix will probably go all out to try and pick up a win. I do want to see him win. And also, it would be kind of funny, because obviously we talked about Shadow needing the win. There is actually a situation here where Shadow cannot even make playoffs. And the way that works is if Shadow loses here, and 2 other matches, which we'll talk about later, go away from his favor. So he's been memeing these last few weeks. He's not really been trying, but that might cost him. And there are a couple of matches which could happen, which could play spoiler. And I would definitely kind of laugh at him for not making playoffs. I'm not going to lie to you. But yeah, honestly though, looking at the matchup, Shadow's got incredible bulk with that Mega Venusaur, the Stellar Stealer, and multiple ways to set up and really hit like a truck. That Nihilego really does come to mind as a one that can hit incredibly hard. Zygarde, of course, very much a powerhouse. There are quite a lot of mons on Crimpix's team that these mons don't really deal that well with. Mega Venusaur with Thick Fat, of course, means Victini doesn't just murder it straight up, and is susceptible, of course, to Earthquake. Snorlax can be stalled out relatively easily, also can be set up on, which is a scary thought. Things like Dusclops on Shadow's team might put a bit of a dampener, because Dusclops does actually get Trick Room, as does Slowbro, so there could be some shenanigans there of Trick Room reversal, which would definitely be interesting to see if that plays out. There is priority, of course, from Donphan with that Ice Shard. Looking at it, I kind of feel like I value Shadow's matchup. I feel like the bulk, combined with the additional setup thread, is something that Crimpix can struggle against. And I don't necessarily see the best ways for Crimpix to handle it, unless he mechanically outpositions Shadow, which is something that a lot of trainers, including me this season, have really struggled to be able to do.
Yeah, Bishop looks like it could potentially have a good matchup, as it deals with the Slowbro and the Dusclops.
Unless Slowbro's fully Fizzed F. Fully Fizzed F Slowbro can tank Bishop relatively okay. It does actually take 2 Sucker Punches unless Bishop is banded. Just cool little bit of calc there from what I remember when I used Slowbro before and I had to set up against Bishop. But yeah, obviously Bishop needs to be wary of Skull Burns. That's something else to bear in mind. Burns actually really do annoy Crimpix a lot because a lot of his Trick Room threats, Rapiria, Luxray, Bishop, to a lesser extent, but Snorlax can also be heavily affected by it. It really is kind of annoying. Which means that you start to look at the special attackers. You look at the Mega Blastoise, which loses to Mega Venusaur. You look at Special Victini, which also can lose to Mega Venusaur. Then you start looking at things like Nidoqueen, which doesn't offer that much offensive pressure and has a very awkward matchup. And then you start looking at the shenanigans like Special Salamence, which hard loses to Donphan and also Alola Ninetales. So it's kind of a difficult position, really. Like, the big hitters that Crimpix has can be handled by Shadow's defensive threats, but then Shadow's offensive threats can be cucked by Trick Room. So it's kind of one of those relatively even matches on paper, but Shadow's the mechanical player that has the advantage by a long way here. So, you know what? Just because it's the final week of regular season and the double bust has got to be dumb in my favor, I'm actually going to back Crimpix to win this one.
I'm going to say Shadow's going to make sure that he's going to make playoffs and he's going to win this, so I'm going to go with Shadow.
Safe predictions. I'm going bold turn 1. Let's fucking go. Right. Don't let me down, Crimpix, please. Alright. Battle number 2 is going to be our next one who got eliminated from playoffs pretty early. Yarufo's up against Crasher this week. Crasher had a bit of a rocky couple of weeks, I would say. While he did have some good games, he definitely had some letdowns, of course, against Solo being the notable one. But I think it's very much fair to say I feel like Crasher's way ahead in this matchup, despite the amount of bulklets on Yarufo's team. You know, things like the Mega Sizzle, yes, it does hit Mega Tyranitar hard in the Mega Wars, but Mega Tyranitar can just pack Fire Punch, and Sizzle can't necessarily kill it, unless it has a Sword Stance up. We do see Yarufa relying on Sword Stance Mega Sizzle quite a lot. He got punished for it in Week 10, I remember watching that. But yeah, what's interesting to me is there is the kind of Weather War-ish potential here. Politoed Kabutops can be there, of course, while Crasher doesn't have the best sand abusers. There's no Excadrill or anything like that. There's no Sand Rush users on that team. But yeah, it's kind of a tough position here. I feel like if Weather Wars do ensue, I usually favor Rain over Sand. But while Yarufa's got quite a lot of bulk on that team, the offensive power is nowhere near the equivalent of things like Zygarde 50. Is nowhere near the power of things like Carmine Jirachi, which has come quite a few times. And it doesn't necessarily handle the bulk that Mandibuzz, Toxapex, even Avalugg can provide.
Yeah. Also want him to either bring an attacking move on Skarmory or just switch out when you get taunted, because...
Yeah, that was embarrassing,
be a little...
to be honest. I think that showed a lot of inexperience there. But I don't know whether he thought Taunt wouldn't last that long, so he thought he could struggle a couple of turns or whatever. But Taunt usually lasts, I believe, 4 turns, if I remember right. So it does last quite a long time. It is obviously something that the more experienced players will always see straight away. It's like, well, let's not make something Taunt bait, right? But Yarufa is lesser experienced. It is worth pointing that out. He did take over a team that was very defensive. If we think back to when it was Silent Leche's team, way back in Week 1, that team was pure stall. Then Big Nab took over and made it semi-stall, and then Yarufa's kind of made it somewhere in the middle between stall and balance. So it's kind of a strange situation, but I feel like Crasher's all-round team building and mechanics is way higher than Yarufa's skill level. So I back Crasher to win this one. But if Crasher turns up drunk or tired or whatever other reason he's given for losing in the past, I won't be surprised if he does lose again. But I'm going to back Crasher. I'm going to be safe this time. I was bold turn 1, so I'll be safe turn 2.
Crimpix got to sneak his win. Yeah, but I'm going with Crasher.
Exactly. Alright, coming in
You can
number...
play spoiler. So.
I would love to see it. But either way, coming in at match number 3 is gonna be Sylvie, who's had a decent turn of events in the last week. Actually picked up a win for a change, which is nice. Nice to not see him get destroyed. Versus Nitro, who's been pretty hit or miss, but has actually been quite impressive for someone who's brand new to competitive Pokemon. How do you see this one turning out?
From last time, it was a pretty close matchup in terms of these teams. It came down to, I think, a Percephalon sub and him trying to get greedy against a Keldeo. And the prediction, it was like a prediction on the Mew with the Zemu from Percephalon, so be interesting to see where Nitro takes it this time, because that was obviously Titanio that had the team then.
Yeah, I believe Gaza played that match as well. I don't know if Titania played it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it was kind of an interesting situation. Of course, Nitro's actually handled this team surprisingly well for someone that made no changes to it. This was something that we did talk about as kind of like a missed opportunity. I did actually have a chance to sit down and have a chat with Nitro when I was helping him build one of his teams. And I asked him, why didn't he make any changes? He's like, because I didn't actually know the rules on it. So there was probably kind of a bit of miscommunication somewhere, because Nitro does have full-time school. He's very difficult when it comes to times. He's usually available at very early hours of the morning for me, but I'm nocturnal, so at this point it doesn't really matter. But not everybody is, so it's kind of a hard position. But what's interesting is worth noting that in Nitro's last game, I had no input into his team whatsoever. That was purely Nitro's build. So it was kind of interesting to see what he went for on his own. It wasn't too bad, actually. He just misplayed mechanically. I don't think his team was actually that bad at all. Looking at it this time round, I do actually like Mega Lopunny quite a lot. Mega Lopunny is one that I have a lot of respect for. If Sylvie leads Sash Lead Rabombi though, obviously Shield Dust does mean that Fake Out doesn't work. So that's something to bear in mind. Plus, Moonblast would kill Mega Lopunny, and Mega Lopunny's frail as all heck. That's something that's kind of notable about Nitro's team, is his big offensive hitters, the Mega Lopunny, the Blacephalon, the Aerodactyl in a way, also Garchomp unless he's running bulky. They're not really that filled with natural bulk. They don't take hits very well, so that's kind of the concern. The Belly Drum Linoon could be a thing, but Buzzwole with Drain Punch kills it, and things like the Milotic can tank it if it's the Flame Orb set. Has a hard time taking E-Speed, but does need to be a little bit careful, but Skull Burns kind of ruin Linoon anyway. Things
it does have Seed Bomb, so...
That's true, yeah. That is also true. We did actually see that. We do also know that it gets Thunderbolt, because for some reason Sylvie brought that in a game against DJ, which was kind of amusing, but yeah. Looking at it though, I think if Nitro plays his pieces correctly, I think Buzzwole can be solid. Does need to watch out for those psychic moves from the Megaladi though. Does also need to watch out a little bit for Rabombi, although it does get Poison Jab and things like that to hit Rabombi with. But Buzzwole's special bulk is not really that existent. Most of his bulk is in physical and HP, so something to bear in mind. Aerodactyl naturally outspeeds Rabombi, that's something to bear in mind as well. Could be a potential lead. Rabombi doesn't really one-shot Aero, regular Aero, unless it gets Equivocance up, but it's probably not going to. It's most likely, if I'd had to hazard a guess, it would probably set up Webb's turn 1, which will mean that Aero puts it down to its Sash. So, yeah, it's an interesting position. I'll be interested to see if Ditto makes an appearance. And what it makes an appearance against, because there's not the hugest amount of setup sweepers on Nitro's team. There is, of course, the Blacephalon and Buzzwole both get Beast Boost. Venusaur could potentially set up, it could run Growth and be a mixed attacking set, but typically Venusaur's more known for being bulky. There is obviously a setup on Garchomp, which could be a thing. But yeah, there's not the hugest amount of setup on Nitro's team, so Ditto's kind of a bit of an awkward matchup. We have seen Sylvie rely and resort to flinch hacks with Togekiss. I do expect that to come again. I expect a fully max
Yeah,
speed
it's-
Scarf set, which will outspeed Mega
Yeah, it's
Lopunny.
very good here.
That's kind of my expectation. I feel like if Sylvie can rely on hacks and actually get the hacks, and not be caught out by any inner focuses, which there aren't actually any. Looking at Nitro's team, I can't see an inner focus anywhere.
Nah.
So, yeah, he can't be caught out by that, so he's got a chance of relying on it, which is nice. He's not relying on Carmine Megalati as much. He's relying on hats instead, which is kind of funny. But, yeah. I think this is kind of semi-RNG based if he does go the hack strat. If he goes the hack strat and doesn't get it, I back Nitro to win. But if hacks does go in his favor, I will back Sylvie to win. I usually say fortune favors the balls, so I'm gonna go for Sylvie, I think, to win this one.
I just Togekiss's matchup into this just seems so good. Forces Garchomp to run like a coverage move if it wants to hit it. And yeah, just so many things weak to Fairy and flying. I'm gonna go with Sylvie.
Nice.
I would like to see a different Mew set, but
He hasn't
something
actually
cool,
brought
'cause
Mew a couple of
it's-
times, which is kind of interesting. He didn't bring Mew at all
Yeah.
against me, which caught me completely off guard. I was expecting Z Metronome for fun, but nope. Alright, either way. But we're back in Sylvie, which hopefully won't be to our detriment. But yeah. Alright, coming in at number 4, this match has more implications than it might look. Mostly for playoff position at this point. Akami pretty much dependent on result this week. He hasn't actually played me in his week 11 match yet. But pretty much he's out of playoffs at this point, thanks to Agoshi defeating Exostomp. So that match actually played into a huge factor. So Akami's unfortunately out of playoffs, but he does have nothing to lose. So I'm interested to see what he goes for against Agoshi, who's been very hit or miss. Hasn't really put a lot of effort in the season, hasn't tried that much, but still manages to find himself in a playoff position. How do you see this one coming up?
So Zapdos super nice for Scizor. And now he's got Rampardos and Sableye. I don't. Maybe Scarf Rampardos has a chance of coming.
Pranks to Sableye maybe
Doesn't look-
with Willow could also be a thing, because obviously we know Agoshi's team is incredibly physically offensive with that Marwile, the Crook. Obviously it doesn't affect Darmanitan, but Galizapod doesn't want to get burned. Weavile doesn't want to get burned. And there's not really the best clerics in Agoshi's team to handle that. So that could be a thing. That could be why Sableye was picked up. It was definitely an interesting kind of last minute trade. I think it definitely favoured DJ, who these other mons went to. But I do actually think Rampardos could be interesting. Obviously with that head smash hitting like a truck, even if it is scarfed, that could be a thing. However, that is kind of mitigated by the fact that Darmanitan is typically scarfed, and Darmanitan naturally outspeeds Rampardos, so that is something to bear in mind. Crook also naturally outspeeds Rampardos and is a pretty hard counter. So we are looking at that. I do see Rampardos having a chance to come this match. The other thing I think could also be crucial is that Megazord X getting set up. If it gets the Dragon Dance, I think it ruins this team in general. The only thing it doesn't necessarily beat is Starmie, and that's only if it doesn't have the coverage move to hit it. But yeah,
I feel like Starmie probably dies after a +1 Dragon Claw or even Outrage.
It probably dies to Outrage. Yeah, if it's fully for Steph and Bold, maybe. I haven't actually counted.
There is a fairy type,
I should count.
Mega Mowile's right there.
That is also true. Yeah, so you probably won't want to run Outrage, but I don't know how much Earthquake would do. I might calculate off screen and see what happens later, but yeah, it's an interesting situation. I don't think Akami's got a lot to lose. I'll be interested to see what comes. Gyarados could be interesting because of the Intimidate. We don't see a lot of Intimidate users around these days, but Intimidate Gyarados is actually kind of nice against Agoshi, crippling that offensive pressure. Obviously, Crook has it as well, but Gyarados gets Dragon Dance, Crook doesn't, so there is something to bear in mind there. So we're looking at potential setup opportunities for Akami with Zardex and Gyarados. Rampardos could put in work if it's scarfed, but if Darmanitan's scarfed, it doesn't put in as much work. I do think that there is opportunities for Agoshi. I think Agoshi can just hit really hard. That Darmanitan gets enough coverage moves to hit pretty much everything on this team. Does get Earthquake, does get Stone Edge. Does of course get U-turn to pivot out, and Flare Blitz just hits like a truck on pretty much anything, doesn't resist it. So that is something to bear in mind. I do think Dom is key, but Agoshi has not used Dom that well all season long. So that is something to kind of consider. I'm looking at
Mega Morwell's positioning.
Oh, that's also been a problem.
If he can set this up, maybe Akami runs some Clefable with max speed or just enough speed to outspeed Mega Morwell.
I mean, Morwell is only base 50 speed. I'm pretty sure Clefable's faster than that.
Yeah, it is. So maybe that's something.
And Morwell doesn't typically run
base
speed
60.
investment. It usually runs HP and attack. Yeah, Clefable's base 60. So it's only a little bit faster, but it would. I don't think speed is that necessary. But I wouldn't be too surprised to see an Unaware set come. I think Unaware is probably better than Magic Guard. There's not the hugest amount of rockers on Agoshi's team. Obviously, you're mostly looking
that's also true.
For that. Entry hazards isn't really the big thing for Agoshi. He tends to set up screens, which is one thing that's bear in mind. Quite a few monsters on his team actually get screens, which is kind of cool. That's often been his way to resort to bring Morwell in. Of course, pivoting with U-turn and Volt Switch, things like Zapdos, of course. Darmanitan gets it. I think Crook gets U-turn. I could be wrong on that. Lantern obviously gets Volt Switch, of course, things like that. So that's pretty much the way he tries to do, is he tries to screen set up and then pivot into Morwell and try and get it set up. But if he brings Unaware, if Akami brings Unaware Clef with Flamethrower, that could definitely cause a few problems. There is equally, along with that, not the best hazard removal on Agoshi's team, so if rocks are on the field, that could be a bind. There are quite a few rockers on Akami's team, looking at the Clefable, the Nidoking, Rampardos gets it. So on balance, it's like Akami's got a lot of tools to hit Agoshi's team with, but if he can't actually do that, I think Agoshi might just overcome it. But for me personally, I like Akami's matchup a lot more. So I think on that basis, I'm going to pick Akami to win.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Akami as well, as I have been ever since he's joined.
Yeah, I know, right? You even backed him to win against me, you swine. But yeah, alright. Coming in as battle number 5 this week is going to be our Rain user and pretty much guaranteed number 1 seed from Soul Division DJ versus Dizzy, who is actually still in a playoff fight. Position does matter for him. He doesn't want to end up running into some of the top players from the Shield Division, so he does need to start picking up some wins. But I'm not going to lie to you, I don't see him picking up a win here.
No. I think the last time I played was when Noivern was there, and it wrecked him with a subset, and he...
Yeah, well, no, I don't think it was a subset, was it? I think it was Specs. If I remember right, it was a Specs Noivern that was clicking Dragon Pulse all day long, because Bulu was gone. This was the match, if I remember correct, that Dizzy made some very aggressive early game plays, like staying in with Bulu on Noivern and clicking Stone Edge. Things like that. There were definitely some aggressive early game plays. I remember Crasher was very critical of them in the Discord server at the time, which a lot of us weren't happy about the way he put that, but that's a different story. But yeah, looking at it, Rain is actually kind of bad against Bulu a lot of the time, and with the changes coming in, with Clawitza coming in, kind of adding just another water type, it's like another target for Bulu. That's something about I could see like an Assault Vest Bulu coming this week instead of being, I believe it was Banded last time, if I remember looking at it. It might have been Life Orb. It was one of those two. But yeah,
it was AV actually that time as well. I remember talking about that.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So I could see AV Bulu coming. Definitely puts in a little bit of work. Doesn't beat Ferrothorn though. Something to look at. But there are other Ferrothorn answers. Things like Aggron can take on Ferrothorn relatively well unless it gets like Subseed stalled. But Aggron does get Fire Punch, does also get fighting moves. Could even power up Punch on Ferrothorn all day long. That could be kind of funny to see that and how that works out. Things like the Manaphy though, looking at that, if that gets a Tail Glow and Rain, that could be interesting to see. Xurkitree can potentially come in and sweep once some of the bulkier threats have gone. The one thing that I am looking at here is weather, of course. Tyranitar is there. Tyranitar could be useful for him. If we can disrupt DJ's weather, that is one of the ways that DJ doesn't always handle it as well, because he's then forced to go into his Pelipper again, as he only seems to still want to have one Rain Setter, which is interesting. He hasn't opted to change the Z Captain to Z Rain Dance Manaphy, which is the other main Rain Setter. Obviously, the Mons can set up Rain Dance themselves, but that's a move slot then. So it's like, he almost it doesn't necessarily, but he almost semi-relies on Pelipper to set up Rain. So that's something that I want to look at. Because if Tyranitar comes in and cucks the Rain turns, which I believe Dizzy tried to do the first time round. I know Crasher did it as well, and Crasher did it to very good effect. Yeah. If Dizzy can do the same thing, I actually think Dizzy can win this match. I'm not going to rule him out of this match, but having said that, I think DJ's just been by far the strongest player in Sword Division all season long, and I wouldn't be too surprised if he looks back at the game against Crasher where he lost and got punished and be like, I ain't letting that happen again. So I won't be surprised if DJ's already learned from that mistake. So I'm gonna back DJ, I think, on this one, just because I'm not gonna back against him this time in case he moans at me in the Discord again. Just kidding, but yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna back DJ this week.
This was the one that I actually did back against Dizzy last time, and I'm gonna do it again.
Wait, you're backing DJ?
I'm backing Dizzy.
Oh, you're backing Dizzy, so you went against DJ. Alright, DJ, hey, for once you can flame Trancel in the Discord and not me, alright? I would greatly appreciate it. Alright, coming in number 6 then, it's gonna be Penny, who's actually found himself in a decent playoff position now, versus Solo, who's been on a rise and taking win after win after win. Where does this one end up? This is an interesting one to me.
Oh yes, this was a fun battle last time. This was back when he had the Raikou with that interesting rash set, and it came down to the EQ play on the disguise because of Mold Breaker with Haxorus.
Of course, there's no Raikou there anymore, which is a bit unfortunate.
Yeah. In general though, I can't remember anymore. That's obviously a threat. Alakazam looks pretty nasty.
Especially if it can trace, like, solid abilities. Like, imagine if it traces Doublades, No Guard, and actually starts hitting Focus Blasts. I mean, you know, it could be okay. If he, but I'll be interested to see what type Silvally Solo opts for and how that makes a difference to play in the match. I'd like Volcarona for Solo. Volcarona, if it can set up, if it can get 1 or 2 Quiver Dances up, that could actually just destroy Pelly's team. I am, of course, looking at that Azumarill as well for Pelly. Azumarill can actually kind of be a bit more annoying for Haxorus. Obviously, with Mr. Mime being the other fairy type, I don't really see Mr. Mime coming, to be honest. I think Azumarill is actually kind of scary. Belly Drum Aqua Jet is a thing. Sadly, not a Z movie user, so Z Belly Drum's not a thing. But yeah. Belly Drum can be a thing for Azu, if it can get it set up. But it is a question of what does it get set up on, because you can't set up directly on Haxorus, because Haxorus gets Poison Jab. So, And of course, there is
I like
the parting shot shenanigans with Silvally.
Yep. Physical defensive Tangrowth is pretty solid. It can even catch Volk on a switch with Rock Slide.
That's true.
Pretty sure it gets that.
Yes, it does.
And just general, just its general coverage. Good knockoff. Get rid of a lot of annoying items. Vanillux, Vanillux looks pretty decent into here with Freeze Dry and yeah.
Does it get anything to hit Incineroar? I can't remember if it gets Earth Power or anything like that. I don't think it does.
Ooh,
But that would be
that
the
could
kind of
definitely be
mitigating factor there for Vanillux. Is how well does it handle Incineroar? How well does it handle Excadrill, for example? If Excadrill's scarfed, that could be something to bear in mind. I'm still trying to see where Solo loses. I think it very much depends on his team build, what he opts for. If he goes for his rather typical aggression, he might find himself being wanting to that Mega Zam. Or the Excadrill. The Excadrill can definitely be kind of annoying. I'm interested to see if Pelly even goes further and goes for like a stalling Excadrill set. I remember watching one of Wolf Glick's WBE matches against Powders where he ran Subtoxic Protect and like Ironhead, I think it was. Probably Earthquake might be a little bit better than Ironhead in this case. And then run Mold Breaker, of course, so Run and Wash can't switch in. That could be interesting. That's very out there though, and it's kind of niche. But I wouldn't be surprised to see it. I think it could come. Could be interesting. But yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of a who gets set up and wins type of game. Because looking at it, like, in terms of setup threats, Haxorus, of course, is always scary. You never really want to take on a Haxorus very often. Mega Medicham can beat Mega Zam with Fake Out plus Bullet Punch, but it has to run double priority, which gives Mega Medicham move slot syndrome. Things like the Volcarona, of course, can be a setup threat, can be very scary. But then you're looking at Pelly's side. Mega Zam, if it sets up, is actually pretty annoying. Things like the Azumarill, of course, we mentioned Belly Drum already. Things like Vikavolt, if it gets agility boosted, can be interesting. But yeah, it's kind of a who can set up and who can bring their A game to win the match is gonna win it. I think on form and on record, I'm gonna have to give this one to Solo, but I kind of want Pelly to have a good go at this one.
So you're going with Solo?
I'm going
with Pelly.
You're backing against your own team build partner? Wow.
Yeah.
Yo, Solo, if you want anyone, if you want a new person to help team build, feel free to hit me up. Feel free to DM me on Discord. I do take offers. You know.
What is this?
I would appreciate it. Alright. Coming in a 7th battle then. I'll let you take this one away. It's going to be EXO versus me. How do you see this one coming up?
Alright, so who knows how, depending on results, if you want to meme this week or not. Do we see the physical Garvantula? Do we see the Substall Infernape? That wouldn't really be a meme, that'd just be mean.
You wouldn't put it past me, though. Let's be real here. You know, but yeah, I will just jump in here. The reason why Trancel's saying that, for those who aren't particularly following, because I haven't played my match with Akami this week, from week 11 just yet, at the time we're recording this, the result on that depends on if I'm locked for 2nd seed or not. So basically, if I beat Akami or if I lose by like 1 or 2, I'm still locked for 2nd place. And then it just comes down to meme time after that. But if I take quite a big loss to Akami, which could happen, he did smash Shadow, so that's something to bear in mind, then I might have to try a little bit harder. Now, it is also worth going back to this and saying that EXO did actually beat me the first time we played. I made a couple of mistakes on prep where I didn't have Shadow Ball on Cresselia for that Delphox. I didn't think Delphox would be that big of a threat. turned out it was a bigger threat than I thought it was. So there were some mistakes in prep in that particular situation, but if I am going to try hard, of course, I've noted those mistakes. I noted them from the beginning. I remember I was talking in the power rankings with Denisio of all the mistakes that I spotted then, there and then. I do have a couple of changes, of course. I did recently drop Tentacruel and bring Primarina into the mix. I finally got it. Does leave me without a grounded poison type, which does make me prone to toxic spikes, but aside from, I believe, Crowbar gets it, I don't think anything else. Oh, Cloyster gets toxic spikes as well, so that's something to look at. But I do have levitating defog as well. I have defog as in Hydreigon as a levitator. Florges is a decent defogger as well. Does also get aromatherapy, so I can actually get rid of the toxic poisons. And then, of course, there's Mega Arrow if I want to run defog on it. But I haven't done that all season, so. But yeah, this matchup's kind of interesting in a lot of ways. We obviously saw the Delphox put in work against me last time. He brought Trancel against me last time, which was actually Expert Belt, which was very interesting. That thing basically nuked my Celebi, which probably shouldn't have even come to that game. Primarina's more likely to come this game. I think Primarina's actually kind of good against this team. Does struggle, of course, to beat the Harlucho and its Unburden boosted. Tapu Koko's kind of annoying as well. But if I can get it in low enough range, it does get Aqua Jet priority, so I can start picking things off that way. But yeah. If it's a try-hard situation, I think it's going to be a Titanic match. I believe the last time we played, the match lasted like 45 minutes. We were both taking a lot of time, and it was back and forth. So it could be anybody's game. But of course, if we're memeing, God knows what's going to happen. Right? Chaos will ensue. That's the only thing I can assume. But I'm obviously going to back myself because it's me. If I backed against myself, that would be kind of weird. But where are you putting yourself at, Trancel? Where are you putting your money?
I'm gonna back you as well in this one.
Shock horror! You actually backed me for once. Wow.
What?
You didn't
You're
back
just
me
remembering
last
all the
week,
times
did
that I
ya?
didn't back you. I even backed you in the previous time that you played him.
Yeah, you might have done. I can't remember. It was too long ago. I have to watch it back. But yeah, either way. Right. This one is probably the most hype matchup and kind of the least hype matchup at the same time. But this one actually matters the most for Denisio because he actually needs to win this game to have any chance of making playoffs because his differential is quite bad. But it's also worth pointing out he did beat you last time. He was the first person to beat you. So, this one's kind of fun to me because obviously there's been a bit of changes going on with Denisio's team, and it does kind of put a lot of pressure on. I do like Araquanid though. Araquanid is one of my preferred mons in a lot of matchups. Hopefully Denisio learns how to use Zoroark's disguise properly, because the last time I watched him play, he disguised Zoroark as a mon that's actually weak to rocks. And then the Zoroark, well, actually, the mon he disguised was weak to rocks, but then the Zoroark, of course, is not weak to rocks, switched in and made it blatantly obvious that's the, that was Zoroark. That is something you do need to be careful of with Zoroark, but your team is incredibly scary. Zeraora can actually put in a hell of a lot of work against this team. There's a lot of coverage options that Zeraora gets that actually just beats pretty much everything that comes. I do like Kyurem as well. Kyurem is kind of an interesting one. Scarf Kyurem I've never seen before, but yeah, there is things like that. Obviously you've got things like the Lando T if it's scarfed, Superior if it can get set up is strong. Obviously one thing that Denisio loves to use is that Como O, which if he can get it set up can actually ruin you as well. So it's kind of an interesting situation. There is of course Tapu Fini, which can cut things like Weezing that wants to go for Toxic Stall, set up those Toxic Spikes. Fini doesn't care, but you do have to be careful with switching Fini in, of course, because the Toxic will actually hit before the Misty Surge comes out. So that's something that Denisio learned the hard way himself. So I'll be interested to see how this one goes. I do think you'll probably play a lot better than you did the first time round. And I hope...
I definitely noticed some mistakes I made. Also, to bear in mind, at this current point, unless it changes, we were thinking of doing putting our Pokemon on a wheel and then spinning it and then just getting 6 Pokemon and just versing from there. So that could change a lot of things.
Oh yeah, that could be funny.
He's praying I don't get Zeraora.
Imagine spinning the wheel and getting Wigglytuff, Weezing, Palisand, Alolan Persian, Araquanid, and Mega Gallade. That will be so funny. I would love to see that. Just not get all your big threats. No Lando T, no Superior, no Zeraora, no Heatran, none of that crap. No, we're using all the weak stuff. We're using all the lesser powered stuff this match. And if you actually win that match, I'm going to be disappointed in Indonesia, I'm not going to lie. But yeah.
I just don't want to see him get Como plus Finny, because...
Yeah, that combination's pretty insane, I'm not going to lie. And even with the Mega Beedrill on top of that, it just puts so much pressure on. But, you know what? He beat you last time. I'm going to back him to beat you again this time in a meme match or a try-hard match. I think I'm going to back him to win.
Yeah. And, yeah, I'm backing myself.
Well, you're bored. No, alright, I'm joking. Of course, that of course is our final Pickems for regular season. We're going to try and work out how we do Pickems for playoffs, because it's obviously kind of a different situation. But yeah, we'll have a look at that between now and next time we do them. But either way, that's going to be our Week 12 Pickems. Thank you, Trancel, of course, for joining me as always.
Been always fun.
And we're going to get on out of here. So, my name is Rabombi Teacher. I'm your coach of the Royal Bournemouth Rabombis. Stay safe. Stay awesome, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.